So I just got back from the 105 miles on the Appalachian Trail and figured I would probably share what my loadout looked like for 7 days. Food, clothes, the big three, and maybe somebody could benefit from all of the crazy decision making I went through trying to decide what the heck to actually bring. So without further ado, these are going to be my Ultra Temp 5 Gore-Tex paired up with the Dirty Girl Gaiters. Most of the days I was wearing shorts, so the Dirty Girls were really helpful to keep sticks and debris out of my shoes. I got the Alpine Cork by Black Diamond trekking poles. So I've got the Southwest 3400 by Hyperlite, and I'll start from the outside and then we'll get into the internals. So on the straps, I've got my Garmin InReach Mini, Hyperlite shoulder pouch to put my phone in if I had bad weather. Otherwise, I kept my reading glasses and a Ziploc baggie in case I really needed to waterproof my phone. But normally, it's going to stay in my left pocket of whatever clothing item I'm wearing, shorts or pants. A couple of extra little carabiners. They're tiny. I've got this little micro thermometer, and then because it weighs absolutely nothing, this is a kickstand that you can sit on a rock or something and take a time photo if you need to, but it weighs nothing. And rather than having to bust out the tripod, this is something that's kind of nice just to throw down in a quick pinch. Backup compass. Backup compass is never going to hurt you for the weight. And it kind of falls under a just-in-case item, which I tried to eliminate a lot of the just-in-case items on this loadout. My tripod, which I'm currently using to record this, goes right here. It's probably a foot long when it's all bundled up. And then that brings me over to this what looks like a bladder hose, but it's actually going to a smart water bottle. So smart water bottle adapter, 28 millimeter, made by One Bottle. I'll link it in the description. And then I've got my water filter kit here on the outside where I can quickly grab it. I'm using the knock bag, as I've mentioned before, with the full-size Sawyer squeeze filter. I like the flow rate better on this one than the micro or any of the others for the weight. Plus, if it's freezing, you still got to throw it in your bag in your foot box or something at night so it doesn't freeze. I did have a gravity fed adapter this time too, so if I needed to, I could hang it by a tree, let it gravity feed. But I never did. I just ended up squeezing it out every time. 28 millimeter adapter if I wanted to do a gravity feed, so that's all in there. And then a backup Sawyer bag. Definitely a just-in-case item, but I had it rather than not, in case that knock bag failed. Because 7 days, I planned for 6 days, but it took me 7. I'd rather have it than not have it at that point. So 1 liter smart water bottle, another smart water bottle, 1 liter, and then I had the smaller one that I would put my electrolyte mix in. So that way I just could go for the small one and have it concentrated. And I think I was using Body Armor electrolyte mix this time rather than Element, just because I ran out. In my waist pouch, this one I kept all of my electrolytes and snacks for the day. So a kind of running joke that I was talking with somebody on trail about was, you know, what do you consider lunch? And it's like, oh, well, lunch is everything you have from breakfast until dinner. And I'm like, that couldn't be more true, because I couldn't really stop and have a sit-down lunch every day. And when I did, the first 2 days, I felt sick trying to go uphill after that because I'm full from a sit-down lunch. So it's like, all right, cool. Let's kill the protein on the trail, you know, trail mix, nuts, all that kind of stuff to try to prolong your energy and nutrition rather than spiking your, you know, glucose or something and having a crash afterwards. Just maintaining high calorie or high calorie nutrition that's not empty calories or junk food. The junk food just didn't work out. I tried it. This pouch, I kept my buff, and then I had a second little net gator by Outdoor Research. This was just something that I figured would be beneficial to have, because you know, you come around a gap or you come over a peak or something, and the weather changes by 20 degrees, and all of a sudden you're sweaty and wet, and you've got you know this chilly air blowing on you, and you get into a chill real quick. And I found that the trick to controlling your body temperature is to control the insulation on your neck, right? So if you've got a base layer that has a quarter zip or something, and you can control the temperature on your neck like a thermostat, essentially, you can regulate your body temperature and your core temperature much easier and quicker, and be comfortable while putting out and exerting effort. If you need to, going downhill, you're going to start shedding some layers because you're not putting out as hard. Also, Burt's Bees, right? Convenient. It's right there in your pouch, and a little Kershaw pocket knife. Flipping it around, let's start on the outside here. This is going to be my Tarptent ProTrail Li. It's Dyneema or Dynamere if you're from the south. Trekking pole tent sets up with both of these, plus 6 stakes to go with it. Now, I know everybody loves the MSR groundhog stakes. I get it, they're great. However, I came across these Sea to Summit stakes. Very similar, super lightweight, but the little hooks and tips on the line and the tips glow in the dark. So it's just one more little plus to not trip on something if it ever came down to being a factor. And then I have 2 smaller versions of these Sea to Summit for some outriggers I made on my ProTrail to help control the mid section of the walls of that tent, because in higher winds, because it's so long, it's a long A-frame essentially, was having some issues with the walls flexing in and out of that length, and just causing some problems. So locking those outside middle edges down with some stakes and a little bit of 2mm line made a huge difference. It was pretty awesome this time. Also, to kind of pair up with the tent, I've got this little sit pad, pretty common. Everybody's seen one of these. I use this Tyvek sheet rather than a ground cloth or another Dyneema sheet. So that's kind of nice and convenient. If I need to lay something out, let's say I wanted to just stretch out for a minute, I can lay this out real quick. It's on the outside of the pack. I didn't have to go into anything. It's convenient. But I did set the tent up once on this trip, and you know, obviously the ground sheet performed great. But one thing I really like about having a ground sheet that supplements the bottom of your tent in general is it will help protect your sleep pad, which I'll get to here in a bit. But I like a little bit of extra layer to protect that sleeping pad, just because you never know what you're laying on, or some little sharp something that you missed that'll just ruin your hike by popping your pad. Pretty self-explanatory here. It's lightweight though, right? This time I used a Burt's Bees 3-in-1 wet wipe, paired up with just an actual small roll of TP, and then I have this the actual Deuce of Spades 2, and then of course some good old Purell sanitizer and a little bit of this Summit Suds powdered soap, which the sanitizer, for what it's worth, does not protect you against viruses, but the soap will. So take that with a grain of salt if it's something relevant to you, right? Further down in my outside pouch, I have a Outdoor Research Helium rain jacket, I believe. It's a great rain jacket, just like all the rest. It will wet out. One thing I don't like about this particular one is it doesn't have pit zips. Other than that, it's extremely lightweight, a little expensive, but it will get the job done. And I think all rain jackets at some point, for the most part, will wet out on you at some point. Paired up with these Outdoor Research Helium pants. Did not have to use these. I did use that once on the first night coming into the shelter, so it was nice to have on the outside. It's a quick grab. And then something I brought just in case things got squirrely are these REI mittens, kind of water mitts to protect your hands in really cold rain and cold weather. And that covers it for the outside. Let's get to the top here. This is a Gossamer gear. I forget how thick this is, but my buddy Chunk gave me a piece of this, which I'd always wanted one. I still don't know how it got torn up. Like, I think a tree or something snagged it because it was on top of the pack. But this thing's great. Every time I would stop, I would just throw it out to have to sit on, kneel on, put my knees, something. Now back to the point of getting sweaty going uphill and in the mornings with your layers. Normally my mid layer would end up on top of the pack because in the mornings I'm taking it off. This is a Fjallraven mid layer. I forget exactly what, I'll put the link in the description, but it's a really good mid layer. It's comparable to some of the Patagonias and other Outdoor Research ones. And what I'm noticing just now in my pocket is my bear hang kit, because that was the last thing I did, breaking down and packing up before I head out on that last leg. Bear hang kit, yep, that comes later too. Also on top, I've got my beanie, so I started off with a little bit warmer layers and then finally got down and shed all those off and down to my base layer and shorts, which is what I normally hiked in for most of it. All right, also on top, quick access, electronics. So mentioned the Garmin InReach for my communication. Even though I had Verizon 5G in a lot of places between Neel Gap and the Nantahala Outdoor Center, NOC. Power banks. I had a Nitecore 10,000 milliamp, which was fantastic. I really wish I had two of these, but I wanted to try this Ridge 10,000 milliamp because it paired up with my phone really well. However, I have to say, not impressed for the weight. I don't even think I got a full charge out of it. I just kind of did a few little partial charges, and by like the third or fourth day, it was completely dead. And I really expected more out of it, so I'll be using this for other trips, but just not a lightweight backpacking trip again. Also want to add, my base weight for this trip was around 16.5 pounds, and with food and water, it was 34 pounds. So 34 pounds all in, not terrible, but for 7 days in food, that's to be expected. Continuing, these are my Sony earbuds. This is a cable for the Garmin. Flex tail, I think it's a 1.2 ounce pad pump. Super lightweight, very efficient. And I have a little backup, just a tiny mini lantern. It's a little backup lantern I can hang from the inside of the tent. I never used it for what it's worth, but it's light enough that it really isn't a factor of having something extra or luxury item. Toiletries, hygiene, first aid, all on top. Never know when you need a Band-Aid or something. Cork ball, this thing was magic. Super lightweight, roll out all the lactic acid out of your muscles from being fatigued. I would use this in the evenings most of the time. It's absolutely was a good choice. All right, Z-Packs mini toothbrush and toothpaste, excellent. Now, Leuco tape. I took a little old Home Depot card or credit card or something and wrap up the Leuco tape. I wish I had Done this a little differently. It was a little tricky, but it's efficient and works. I did use a bunch of this for the obvious reason of blisters. You can make all the preparations you want in the world, but over 105 miles, you're going to get a few blisters, some worse than others. Tums, ibuprofen, Body Glide. Body Glide invaluable also, it just helps reduce all that friction. This is a just in case item. I didn't have to bring it, but it's super lightweight, and I figured what the heck. 2mm little tie out line if I needed to like make a clothesline or something of that nature. Really random hygiene stuff here. I've got some eye drops, earplugs, some mouth picks, Imodium, and some Benadryl and dental floss for obvious reasons. First aid kit, I've got some tape, band-aids of a variety of sort, triple antibiotic, gauze, and a couple of antiseptic pads to wipe any minor abrasions or anything minor. Nothing major. We're not doing gunshot wounds with this kit. Got some, I think it's Bayer, just some low dose aspirin there. Backup water purification water tablets, right? So if anything happened to my Sawyer or the bags or whatever, I still have a way to procure water and get down the dang trail. Micro Swiss Army knife, so body wipes. Can't go wrong with that, along with some hot hands, hand warmer pads. Backup matches, one for each night if I just had to get my stove started in some other fashion other than a Bic lighter. Cook kit. I use the Jetboil Stash. Love this cook kit. Titanium pot. The fuel mounts right to the lid, along with the actual stove and a little base mount. All fits right in here. Super convenient. One thing you could do is put a bandana in here just to hush it up a little bit and use it as like a little camp towel. Just a personal preference for however you do it. I think at one point I had something in there that was part of my camp towel, but it ended up in another piece of my kit. All right, getting into the food now. Full disclosure, I brought entirely too much food. And I mean like double what I needed. And I thought I was being conservative and not bringing a whole lot in terms of calories per day that I thought and probably did end up burning. I ended up losing 10 pounds on this trip, eating comfortably, if not more than I should have, and still lost that, and had half my food left over. My pack did not start to feel lighter until the last 2 days of that hike. So I felt super heavy for 5 days, and even then it was like I'm as light as I can possibly get in my mind, considering. This is a little gelato canister. These things are great. They don't weigh anything, literally. Got a camp towel in here, lighter. Normally my bear hang would go in here with this. Got to show you this from Hilltop Packs. My buddy Chunk made us all towels. I got the zombie towel. Of course, that's gonna ride with me. But this is also good for doing instant carnation breakfast in the mornings. So if you wanted to not utilize your pot for something else, you could always put the carnation breakfast in here, shake it up, and have it in a separate little cup, versus bringing an extra camp cup that weighs 3 times as much. Basically a separate Ziploc for all of my Cliff salt blocks and goo and whatever kind of, I used frog fuel also for a recovery protein. Without getting too deep off in the weeds, Toke's titanium spoon. In this particular Hyperlite bag, this is my secondary food bag. I put all of my dehydrated meals in here. They're bulky, but they're lightweight, so I had them all in here. along with just random snacks and a few other like odds and ends. My main food bag, which y'all are familiar with, is this big bastard here. Now listen, yeah, that's after 7 days on trail, how much dang food is still in here. Let me just give you an example. Really not happy with myself overpacking for this. Pistachios. Planned on doing tortillas and chicken packets to make tortillas for lunch every day, but it was too filling and too heavy and too full. Trash. This is a smelly proof bag, and I put all of my larger Mylar smelly trash in there, packets and meal stuff. Some things I never touched because they're lightweight. I had some of these dehydrated mixed fruit. I even had chili cheese Fritos to go with like the tortillas and stuff. I couldn't hardly eat that stuff either. My body was just wanting protein the whole time. I got some crispy onions. I thought I'd throw in the mix with the evening meals. Never did it. I pack my meals in one Ziploc per day, and I don't think I touched day 5 or day 6, and I was out there for 7 days, so I had, you know, a ton of food left over. But typically, I'm bringing trail mix, a kind protein max 20 grams of protein bar, one of these Lenny and Larry's, you know, protein cookies, carnation breakfast, the dang chicken packets, a free range grass-fed beef, and then these Bear Bells protein bars, right? So that's doesn't seem like a whole lot for one day, I don't think, but I wasn't even getting through all of that. And Snickers, and then a little fruit bar. I would have so much food left over because I would only eat half of that, or I would have food left over from the previous day. I am finding that to be extremely hard to gauge based on how much you're going to be putting out and then actually consuming on trail, time allowed, what your body wants, and what's not going to make you feel sick and sluggish. So this was a real challenge, and it's going to take a lot more thought and expertise on my part to dial this part in, because my food, I want to say, weighed about 12 pounds, and everybody keeps saying, oh, you need about 2 pounds of food per day, blah blah. And I'm like, I don't think so. Like, I just don't work that way. I lost weight and I felt stronger and healthier just by eating high protein. So I don't understand why this happened. But that's something I'm gonna work on in the future, to say the least. It is what it is. All right, I normally don't use a pack liner, especially with a Hyperlite pack, because they are waterproof for all intent and purpose, right? But I did use one of these little kind of commercial grade garbage bags as a liner, and I did that just so I could put certain things inside this that are mission critical, to include like Puffy jackets, some clothing, and my sleep system. So what would normally happen is I brought 3 pairs of socks, 3 pairs of darn tough socks. I really prefer to wear these over anything else. I've had 0 issues with these socks, and they perform great no matter what. 3 socks, 1 pair to sleep in, and 2 pair to hike in. I would rotate the daily pair to hike in, and the pair that I wore the day before, I would strap them to the outside of the pack on top of the gossamer pad so they could air out, get some sun, and be ready for the next day. And I'm rotating socks every day like that, so I've got 2 pair of hiking socks, and then on the last day, I get to wear my sleep socks out, which was amazing. Got some outdoor research Ferosi pants. I ended up wearing these once, didn't even wear them at night. I ended up in some, you know, kind of cheap shorts the whole time. I would start off the day in shorts and it's in the 40s, and the old hiker's word of wisdom, be bold, start cold, is very true. Just suck it up, start cold, control your temperature up here, protect your neck. Your bottom's fine. It's just one less thing you got to change on the trail. Clothing, Hyperlite pod. These things are great. It's probably overkill and unnecessary, but I love being organized. And it's nice if you're in a shelter or if you're in your tent and you've got your little suitcase here with all your stuff in it. I've got my outdoor research Puffy jacket here. This is a synthetic, right? So being in Appalachia, its moisture content is real. Like you're gonna get a little bit of rain, mist, you know, it's a rainforest essentially. So I prefer a synthetic in that environment. If it's going to be above 30 degrees, just because if it gets wet, it can still perform, versus down, if it gets wet, you're kind of teetering on having some issues with insulation if you can't get it dry in a fair amount of time. But, you know, having access to that Puffy is always nice. Now, surprisingly, this Black Diamond Alpine Start soft shell, I got it for this trip thinking that it's a little more breathable, and that if it's kind of foggy and misty and I don't want to put on the Helium, I could start in this and have a moisture barrier. Never happened. I never use it. It's like 12 ounces or something, so it's super lightweight, but I just never got into it. Great piece of kit, didn't need it. These gloves I used once or twice at night. I'm a side sleeper, so sometimes my hands are out and exposed. Having these gloves, looks like they are the Sirius, good grippy texture on there. Anyway, nice to have a pair of gloves. I tried this Outdoor Vitals pillow, which was fantastic. It's super lightweight. I think it's like 7 ounces. Absolutely for the weight, did the job just fine. I bring 3 pair of underwear because hygiene matters, and I like being clean and somewhat fresh overall. So 6 days, 3 pair of underwear, can do the math, not terrible. I did bring an extra just in case pump sack for my Nemo all season sleeping pad, just in case the flex tail went out. Did not have to use this. Outdoor Research thermal leggings, really awesome. Didn't have to use them but one night, and honestly, I was pretty warm most nights in the 40s and didn't even sleep with socks on, so that was kind of a relief. Nemo Tensor all season. As you can see, I don't roll it up. I learned to kind of fold it like this, and I'm wrapping it on top of my quilt, which is in the bottom, just to save space, and it just kind of fits the gap a little bit easier in there. Just be mindful anything on the outside of the pack that could poke or prod. R value is fantastic for the weight, and it insulates extremely well. This is a 25-inch wide regular, and highly recommended if you're looking for a good kind of mid-tier to top-tier pad. Excellent option. And last but not least, my Enlightened equipment, 10 degree 850 fill down quilt. So pretty much overkill for this trip. I stayed extremely warm and got too hot some nights when it was in the upper 40s and at 10 degrees. So I probably would have been better off in a 30-degree quilt with a liner if I needed it. But once again, it is the Appalachians in North Georgia, so you never know what weather's going to pop off there. And I'd rather be a little warm than freezing at night and live to tell the tale, so to speak. That's it, kids. That's what I brought. If you have any questions, hit me up. But essentially, this is a down and dirty, you know, bag dump here of what I brought, what worked, and I think pretty much everything worked. I don't feel like I had anything wasted in terms of weight that was excessive by any means, other than the damn food. So the food really irks me that I didn't have that dialed in better. But 7 days having this much food left over, you know, maybe it's one of those things where they say you pack your fears, and it's kind of like, I thought I was being conservative and I still brought too much food. But that's it. That's all I got. Till the next one. Cheers.